Obviously, a bad boy. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining today for our Women's History Month program. I'm Muriel Rodriguez with Schnabel Engineering and Chapter President. Before we get started with our program, I would like to recognize our sponsors. Our benefactor sponsors are CDM Smith, Dovetail Cultural Resource Group, Schnabel Engineering. Our platinum sponsors are ATCS, Kimley Horn, Moffitt and Nickel, Search. Our gold sponsors are Wallace Montgomery, Wolpert, Volkert, and our silver sponsor, WSP. Thank you all to all of our sponsors. We really do appreciate your support. A couple of announcements. Mark your calendars for our April program. We will be going to the Richmond International Airport for a presentation and also for a behind-the-scenes tour of the airport operations. That's going to be on Friday, April 29th. And the details of that program and the tour will be announced soon. We are also still looking for committee volunteers. So if you'd like to get involved with programs, sponsorship, communications, or membership, please reach out to me directly, or you can send a message to centralva@wtsinternational.org. But now I would like to welcome Lorna Parkins, who will be moderating today's conversation and will introduce our guests. But as a reminder, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat box and we will try to answer them before the end of the program. Lorna?
Thank you so much, Muriel. So this is a special program. Our directors at large of our chapter, myself, Ioana Dabney, and Julie Tim, really gave some thought to what we would like to do for Women's History Month. And in particular, I guess I need to ask if everybody could please mute your microphone on your own end, please. Thank you. So we were inspired to think about women making history and how women executives are really shaping our industry. So that's our theme for today. And we're very excited to have with us two women executives who are going to introduce themselves. They really have so much to offer in terms of their wisdom and insights in the roles they have in our industry. We've got Anna Bonnet, who is the CEO of Elizabeth River Crossings, and Kathleen Linehan, the president of Alpha Corporation. So Anna, would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Lorna. Well, first of all, thanks for the opportunity of being here, and hello, everybody. I'm Anna Bonnet. I was born and raised in a small village in Spain. I grew up in a very humble family of 5 brothers and sisters. I was the 4th child, so you can imagine I've been pushing for being someone and being listened to since the very beginning. I'm a very typical person, I would say, a mother of 2 daughters and 1 son of 13, 12, and 3 years old, with a very generous husband that without him and without his support, believe me, that I wouldn't be here today. I'm a very passionate and positive person, a hard worker that really cares about the people surrounding me at the office and even at my life. Even now that I'm miles far away from them, I try to. I would say that to me, the balance between the professional and the personal life is essential. And I take advantage of the time I can spend practicing my favorite sport just to help me maintaining that balance. And here I am. I just landed to a new country, very motivated 6 months ago in order to learn a lot of you guys and trying to be part of this community as soon as possible.
Thank you so much, Anna. And Kathleen, if you would introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. It's truly an honor to be speaking to this group. I know many of you on the call, and I know there are many incredible women who ably represent the women and the history women are making in this industry. And so thank you to all of you I'll do my best to give my one little perspective on what's going on, but I want you to know how much it's an honor to be part of this group and to get a chance to represent. I'm glad Anna talked a little bit about family. That's kind of fun. I also come from a big family. I'm in the middle of a big family. I've always been a middle child. I've always been trying to stand up and make myself something different than those above and below me. But that has stuck with me because I love working with people. I love collaborating. I like to say I have 5 kids, which is kind of true. I have 2 of my own and 3 step kids, but they're all my kids. And so we have big family events. Thanksgiving at my house is the best ever. You're all welcome to come join us sometime. It's one of the funnest days of the year. So anyway, you've read my bio, so I don't want to report everything that's in there all over again, but I'm thrilled to be now leading a small company. I've been here 2.5 years, but it's still kind of a new experience for me, and I'm having a blast. They're great people at Alpha, and so I'm looking forward to sharing some of the things that I've learned here and in my prior experiences. So thank you, Lorna.
Oh, thank you. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to work our way through 3 questions. And at the beginning of each one, I'm introducing the question, and then I'm sharing some quick videos that we have recorded from other women leaders who have given of their time to offer some of their words of wisdom as well. And then we'll come back to our panelists. So let me get that started. Our first question is, who is the woman who has inspired you the most and why?
Throughout my life, I've been fortunate to be surrounded by women who've had a tremendous influence on not only the woman I am today, but the leader I am today. Women who guided me with powerful words, motivating gestures, or consistent mentorship. However, the woman who has had the single most important influence on my life is my mother, Margaret. My mother, Margaret, fed into me what she often didn't have, a balance of unyielding support nestled with tough love. Providing guidance in the most uncertain times, my mom taught me to think big and to be bold, while instilling in me the importance of independent thought and forging my own path. What my mom wanted to do was to plant seeds that would blossom into success. I planted these teachings into my own daughter in the attempt to be a role model, not only for her, but for other young professional women who come after me. Seeds that provide women with the courage to continue to break barriers and glass ceilings as we achieve and continue to achieve historic firsts. Because it's critically important to lift as we climb. Thanks, Mom.
When I think about the woman who inspired me the most, of course, there's my mother, but in career-wise, there was another woman who really stands out for me, and her name was Nancy Wade. She was a biology teacher at the university when I went there, and she was an amazing and unique and authentic and sincere person. She taught with a boldness and a brashness of personality that put a lot of people off, but she inspired me how she was herself, to think critically and to teach a new generation of leaders how to critically process information and transfer information from one mode of learning into another, from one discipline into another, to be able to be aware of how information was interconnected and to think for ourselves independently and to be ourselves. I role model a lot of who I am after her. I cherish my memories of her and I miss her every day. She was an amazing woman, an amazing leader for young people, an amazing thinker, and she did it all in an industry that was dominated by men. And yet she stood tall and firm as a woman. I'm proud to have known her.
All right. So with that, Kathleen, we'd love to hear from you, your thoughts on what woman inspired you the most.
Okay, great. And I'm glad we started with honoring moms and teachers, many of the greatest women in the world. And I think almost all of us on this call have benefited from amazing women teachers and moms that got us here. So that's an honor that's sort of universal. And I certainly share that. I lost my mom this year. And so I've been reflecting a lot on how amazing she's been and what an impact she had on me. But building on that, I wanted to talk a little bit about someone. Jackie Hinman is one of my great influences. And it's funny, I was sort of thinking I should have told her I was going to talk about her. I don't think she has any idea how much impact she had on me. Jackie was the CEO at CH2M Hill when we were acquired by Jacobs. And what I admire so much about her is she had the uncanny ability to be her authentic self and still manage a major corporation and, you know, go through a major acquisition. And she did it with such grace. I was impressed from the beginning how much she allowed those of us around her to benefit from the process and to learn from it. She was just remarkably open with the whole company about what was going on. And of course, you know, when you're in the middle of an acquisition, you can't say everything. But she told us a lot so that we really knew what was coming. People understood and could get on board with the strategy. In addition to sort of her public face, she also had a couple women's groups, but one of them I participated in. And near the end of the CH2M Hill existing as a company, she pulled about 50 of us in the company in for a fairly intimate women's retreat, and really shared with us some of the amazing things that she had gone through and some of the more precarious moments that she had lived through, and helped us appreciate just how difficult the job she had done was. So whenever I'm in a leadership position and I'm thinking about how I want to present myself to people and be sort of the servant leader that I want to be, I think of Jackie and how authentic she was. And how much she let us be part of her world. And I try to emulate that.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much. Anna, we'd like to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you, Lorna. Well, in this case, I would say that in my experience, I didn't have the chance to be surrounded by many women leaders. I'm coming from the infrastructure sector, and I've been in this sector since more than 20 years ago. So I didn't have the chance to, like Kathleen, to just have the chance to meet with great women that probably inspire him. And that's why I would say, like Monica, and I agree that probably most of us, our mom has been a key reference. And at this time, when Lorna asked me about this question, I quickly told her, you know, Lorna, believe me, if I go through back my career and I have to think about someone that really impacted me and really inspired me about the way that I am, that's really my mom, no? And that's why I really wanna go through her, because I think that really I've met with many women, but the one that really inspired me and the one that really gave me the values that have undoubtedly been key to my personal and professional success has been my mom. And I think that to me, she's been I would say probably the best CEO I have ever seen. As I told you, we are a big family, and she has really demonstrated how she can lead a big team. So she's been really results-oriented person. She really has been fighting for whatever she wanted. She never gave up. I would say she was able to give us the right advice at any time and lead her team, which of course her family, in the right direction. But she also allowed us to take chances. Sometimes we fail, but I would say that we learn from our mistakes. She really had to be tough with us, and she had to face many difficult and different situations, but she always handled each situation or each child in a very positive, empathetic, and sensitive way. sensitive way. So, and really, to me, that was great. And she really tough of being as humble and generous, and how important is to take care of everybody surrounding you, trying to give the best to everybody without ever asking anything in exchange. How important is being inclusive. She's been the most inclusive person in any family, even just being sure that everybody was having a great time. And again, she's been pushing us to fight and to dream, to get what we really want and what we really deserve in our lives. She really touched me to be, I would say, one of the lessons that I really learned from her is that in this life, it's very important to be a good person, and really, and being surrounded by good people with really good work ethic, good attitude. So that's something very important that I really think that I've been lucky, and I've tried to really, let's say, to really keep in all my career, personal, but also professional, just surrounding by good people, which to me, it's key in any team. So, and really, my family, we are very proud about her. I'm so proud about her. I know my dad has been very fortunate of being here together all his life. And definitely, she's been my inspiration and has played a big part in the person and the leader that I'm today. I aspire every day to live up on the values and the standards that she instilled in our family. And I go to sleep, I would say, peacefully every night, just knowing that I've done everything in my power to take my role model, which is my mom, no, and which I'm proud.
Oh, thank you so much. Those were great examples of role models, as you said, Anna. And I think you both did a wonderful job of illustrating how, the values that we admire and the ethics that we admire in other people can really have an effect on how we conduct ourselves as leaders. So that's a great transition to our next question, which is, how do women as organizational leaders make a difference? How are our organizations different because women lead them is another way of thinking of that. So I'll bring up a really nice video clip we have from Miriam Kronish, who's a managing partner at RK&K.
How do women as organizational leaders make a difference? I'll just share some examples from my own experience. It starts with first setting the right example in the organizations that you lead. Listening. No leader has all the answers. Listen to both positive and negative feedback. And the negative, sometimes constructive criticism, is most important. Stay humble and then act with confidence. Challenge others in your organization to take on stretch positions. And once in those stretch positions, it is so important as leaders to guide and mentor along the way. There's going to be speed bumps in the road. There's going to be hurdles, but it's very, very important as a leader to stay positive, focus forward, and not look backwards.
Great. All right. Inspiring words from Mimi Kronish. And Anna, we'll have you go first on this question.
Okay. Thank you, Lorna. Well, I would say let me explain with a recent example that I've been dealing with in my company in Abertis in Spain just before landing here to United States. So I was I was in charge of the business unit in Spain, and we were I would say we had to make the handbook of two of our assets. We are, let's say, toll concession operators, so we run business, but these business are for a period of time, and after a period of time, you need to give back to the owner, to the client. In this case, it's usually the administration. So I would say that that's been one of the, let's say, terrible projects I've been facing myself, but not only me. I would say that the group itself it's been one of the worst projects we have to deal with, because we were just losing in Spain, I would say more than 50% of our business, but not only business, if also employees, which to me it's probably the most important part of the deal. So, and I was leading this project with an excellent team, which I would say my two pillars were two women. I would say my left and my right hands were two women, the CEO and the human resources director. And believe me, I feel so proud about the way we did and we deal with this project. It was great. It was excellent. And it could be the worst, believe me, because again, in Spain, the unions are very strong. So there is a lot of pressure because of that. So it could be terrible in terms of social revolution because of that. And it could be terrible because of the, let's say, the administration not accepting, our proposal and so on. So it was great. And I would say that part of the key, or maybe let's say, I would say the biggest part of the key of succeed now that it's a few months ago, I think that was because at that time we were women leading with such a difficult project. I would say women in general, we don't have egos. We take all our emotions and sense into consideration when dealing with other people, and we are really results oriented. And because of that, I think usually female leaders are more open and transparent with their teams. We really believe information is power, for sure. I really believe information is power, but not to keep by myself, but the contrary, to share with my teams in order to give them the global picture, to design the action plan that really contribute the most to achieve our goals, to design the best strategies for the companies, to improve the processes, and so on and so on. So I really feel that we also follow our gut. I believe about the sixth sense, which to me is this intuitive and emotional aspect that help us to manage teams and be more, let's say, more empathetic and try it in a more empathetic approach all the deals and all the issues. And undoubtedly, we have this maternal instinct that help us to take care about our teammates, being demanding. Of course, we are very demanding when we have to be, but also at the same time flexible with their needs. I really like to listen to my team and empower them to make decisions by themselves. I think that we are more generous, we lead for the benefit of the company or the benefit of the teams rather than from our own benefit. And also, I would say, against typical impressions that others sometimes feel, we really like to work with each other. I really love working with women. I really believe that the most diversified teams are the best and the richest teams you will have. And I really like to see how they work together, dealing with projects, sharing their views. So it's great. It's amazing. In fact, I've been very fortunate, as I told you, with my recent experience, but also with previous teams that I have the chance to build, that in which really the gender diversity has also been the common denominator. And of course, some teams have been challenging to me, but at the end of the day, I would say that diversity has been key for the success of these teams. I really like to be an example for my team. So if we deploy, I think, this humble and this cooperative culture will really make the difference.
That's great. Thank you, Anna. I got some really great keywords from that. And so now I'd like to hear, Kathleen, your thoughts on the topic.
Yeah, thank you, Anna. That was amazing. I'm going to build on some of the themes that you started talking about. I also want to echo the point that Mimi made, because you don't hear this often when women talk to each other, but it's such a great point that you need to do the hard stuff. You need to find out where you're really able to stretch your skills and do something that you haven't done yet, and just do it. So that's great advice for anybody, but I don't think women say that to each other enough. So way to go, Mimi, for making that point. I want to talk a little bit about the concept of bringing your whole self to work, which is sort of what Anna was just talking about as well. We hear this a lot now in the world while everybody's working through their DEIJ work. I think women do best when they do bring their whole self to work. I know I do. And so I think that's a strength that we really want to capture and leverage. I know that the things that I've done outside of work, and sometimes these are things where, maybe I'm feeling embarrassed, or like I have to hide what I'm working on outside of work because it seems like a distraction, or it might pull away from the things that I'm supposed to be attentive to at work. But I can tell you that the things that I've done on the PTA, organizing the fundraiser for the school, the coaching that I've done for my kids' sports teams for basketball and soccer, the things that I've learned through those experiences are invaluable to me in the work that I have done before and what I do today. And so I encourage everybody to really look at your whole life and not feel like you need to compartmentalize. You don't need to hide who you are from your work. In fact, we probably would benefit from the other aspects of your life and the other things you spend your energy on. So, there are a lot of people in our industry and in the working world who still feel the need to hide parts of themselves, whether they're, identify as LGBTQ, or, if they're of a minority population, whatever. I think a lot of us still have the tendency to minimize aspects of ourselves that really make us who we are. And my advice is, be who you are, bring your whole self to work, share what you've learned, help others learn from your courage to show who you are and to leverage that into your strengths. And I think people will follow suit and do the same themselves.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. I love how you both really touched on really the heart of diversity in what you talked about, and how it's embracing all of who each of us is, and that collaboration that brings together what we all have to offer that is unique, so we can each learn from that. So thank you so much. Those are great, great answers. So we're going to move on to our third question, and that is based on this month's International Women's Day theme. It was #BreakTheBias. And so we've asked 3 of our executives, Joy Dean with RMTA, Martha Heater with Plan RVA, and then Julie Tim again with GRTC for their thoughts on that. And so we'll listen to their videos.
So when I see the #BreakTheBias, I think about how we as women can work towards breaking the bias. And I think we can do so by doing 3 things. The first, recognize unconscious bias and call it out. The second is by being able to be our authentic selves in whatever situation we're in. And the third is celebrating our successes. So recognizing unconscious bias, what does that mean for me? Recognizing unconscious bias, everyone has it. Recognizing that you may have it. Also, changing your mindset, changing your actions, because once you recognize unconscious bias in yourself, you can recognize it in others. You can recognize it in various situations and call it out. Being your authentic self. Every woman when we walk into the room, we have to be our authentic selves. When I walk into the room, I know that I deserve the seat at the table. I know that I'm capable, that I'm competent, and I'm confident. And my very presence breaks the bias. And lastly, we must celebrate our successes. About a year and a half ago, we elected a woman as Vice President of the United States. President Biden nominated a woman to the Supreme Court of the United States. We have to celebrate these successes. Celebrating these successes normalizes the successes of women. And by normalizing our successes, we hashtag break the bias. And this is important. Breaking the bias is important to me, not just because I am a woman executive in transportation, but because I have a 5-year-old daughter, I'm a mother, and I hope to leave the world a better place for her.
When I think about this year's International Women's Day theme, Break the Bias, I think about how transportation is the unifier for our communities. Everyone has different experiences with transportation, but we all experience and rely on it in some way. I think that breaking the bias comes in so many forms for women in transportation planning. We bring that unique perspective to think inclusively about not just those that need to be a part of the design, but those who will be experiencing the plans that we make for generations to come. When I think about this year's International Women's Day theme, Break the Bias, I think about how transportation is the unifier for our communities. Everyone has different lived experiences with transportation, but we all experience and rely on it in some way. I think that breaking the bias comes in so many forms for women in transportation planning. We bring that unique perspective to think inclusively about not just those that need to be a part of the design, but those who will be experiencing the plans that we make for generations to come.
Women's History Month 2022, Breaking the Bias. This is a powerful time for women in the world. We're seeing more and more women in the transit industry become CEOs. I'm proud to be one of them and leading the way. When I think about breaking the bias and what that means, though, I think that we need to really look at ourselves, not only the bias that's placed upon us by communities, by other CEOs, by other leaders, by the people that we live around about what a woman is and what a woman should be. But breaking the bias to me is also looking critically internally about the biases we hold within ourselves that hold us back. Too many times the mentees that I bring into my life that are women, the biases that hold them back are less about the external ones and more about the internal ones that they've claimed and owned without even realizing it. Those unconscious biases that prevent them from truly leading and becoming the inspirational women that I see them. I would challenge all of you to think about the internal biases you hold that keep you back and keep you from being an amazing, confident, and successful woman that I know that we all are. Thank you so much. Take this time, break the bias.
Okay, sorry for the technical difficulties. I had two Marthas running, so I played that again to be sure everyone could hear that correctly. So we're excited to hear, Kathleen, if you would go first on this one, your thoughts on Break the Bias.
Yeah, happy to. So I'm going to talk about where the rubber meets the road. Not only is it Women's History Month, but a couple days ago, March 15th was also Equal Pay Day. And so I want to talk a little bit about the gender pay gap. Now it is getting a little bit better, very slowly. Some would call it glacial speed with which it's getting better. We see better parity when you're comparing job to job, title to title. It's not as bad. But what that doesn't take into account is the number of women who are in jobs lower than what they should be in. So I like to look at the uncontrolled numbers. To me, that's more meaningful. So let me throw a couple statistics at you. For all salaried professionals in the US in the year 2022, the pay gap is 82 cents for women earn 82 cents on the dollar for every dollar that men earn. In engineering and science, it's a little bit better. It's 88 cents that women earn on the dollar compared to men. And in construction, 91 cents on the dollar. But again, that's a pretty big gap when you think about it. 12%, 9%, 18%. That's the kind of money that can make a big difference in your life. So there's some really exciting things going on in the world of women's soccer that may not seem relevant to us, but in this case, it's really relevant. The women's US soccer, specifically the World Cup team, sued their employer, US Soccer, for gender pay parity because they were making a tiny fraction of what the men's team was making, and they were winning. They were winning World Cup, actually first place, and the men weren't even placing in the top 10. So there was an obvious disparity there. But what's remarkable is the case was settled, but US Soccer ended up settling to, I'm not going to say they're going to get 100% equity in salary, but what they gained was enormous. And symbolically, the fact that a major organization like that, where not only are they based on what people bring to the job and skills and intelligence, but it's even the brute force, brute strength, which is a little bit harder sometimes for us to compare men and women on. So it's of huge importance to us in every single industry, and I want to call that out because it's a major gain. I also would just sort of say to each of us that we can help others by demanding what's fair to us. We don't have to settle, and in fact, not only are we doing ourselves a disservice when we settle, but we're doing those who follow us a disservice. So if you don't feel comfortable asking for what you need because you deserve it, ask for it because of those coming behind you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Great points. Anna, your thoughts on Break the Bias?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kathleen, because I like the example you put, because that's something on the female soccer teams in Spain is coming also. So I think that you guys in the States encourage them to mobilize in this regard. So I would focus more on the organizations and how we can break the bias in order to make the organizations better, which to me, break the bias would be breaking the silos. So I think that both women and men, we need to work together definitely through a unified and a global view. I really cannot stand silos, and I think that there is often bias around that in the corporate world, definitely. When we operate independently and avoid sharing information, we are creating negative company culture, which at the end can really affect even the bottom line of the company. There are no department achievements to me. There are only teams working together to achieve the company goals. So teams need to be transversal with no silos, assuring that the interconnections between each other are very clear and they feel value in working like that. They are every day they are working. So that's very critical to me. And that I think that's something it's going top down in an organization. If we as a woman we encourage our direct teams and our direct reports to share and to coordinate each other, and consequently the teams below also do that at their level. At the end, this becomes something natural, and the best to me is that they really realize how valuable and how rich is working like that. So I think that doing that, we build more open, more healthy, more modern, and more creative teams. And I really believe that the women, we really can contribute a lot on doing that to get better organizations.
Well, thank you so much. I want to thank you both for your wonderful insights this afternoon. And so we're going to move into some time of discussion. We've got a good amount of time for that. So anybody who's got a question that you would like our panelists to address, just go ahead and put it in the chat if you would. Here's one right off the bat. What questions should we be asking ourselves in order to recognize our own unconscious biases? Would either of you like to take that?
Yeah. Kathleen, do you want to? Well, to me, it's very simple. I think that in general, women, we are so humble that we don't think about asking ourselves questions in order to recognize our unconscious bias. So that's, and the way we have to change that, I think it's, at this point, it's difficult. I think our generation, it is as it is, and it's going to be maybe a little difficult to fight for that. But I'm happy because at least I can really see in my daughters, maybe my 13-year-old daughter, which she has a very strong and women character, which I really love. So I really feel, and I really like the way that I see the next generation coming after us, that they really will not have to ask any question about that, because I feel, I hope, but I feel really that for them, all this is going to be really normalized.
Yeah, that's a great point. I feel the same. The insights that my kids have gained from the exposure they've had to people different than them and the openness on many of these issues, I don't think we will ever catch up. It's really fun to watch the way they've navigated the world. It's a great question. How do you open yourself up to these questions? I think the big thing is asking why constantly. When somebody really ticks you off, you got to step back. Why? Why did that tick me off? What did they come to work with today? What am I not seeing about this person and the ideas and the influences that have brought them to this position where they're really ticking me off? Sometimes it doesn't have to be in a point of conflict, but I think it's just a question of asking why. Why is that person reacting to this situation the way they are?
That's a great point, Kathleen. Thank you. It reminds me, one of my mentors, I noticed years ago when she didn't agree with your first answer to something, her response was always, "What am I missing?" And that's a great way of saying, let's not start with my bias. You tell me, you know, what I'm not seeing here. So that fits well with what you were saying. Okay, the next question is, what advice would you give to young college-aged females who are curious about our industry?
Kathleen, do you want to go ahead or right now, or I go?
Having trouble getting off mute. Yes, thank you, Stephanie, my good friend Stephanie, good question. We all have to work really hard at recruiting people out of college. It's not going to happen naturally. And so it's going to take a concerted effort from all of us, especially, I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but I tracked them for many years. And, you know, from when I graduated from college in 1991, the subsequent 20 years, there really wasn't any increase in the number of women going through engineering. Now, I'm only talking about a portion of the people in our industry, because there's many, many people that go through planning and cultural resources and history and financial and other degrees as well that are every bit as important in this industry. But I think what I would say is how rewarding it can be. You know, particularly for people that have a sort of natural inclination to want to save the world and help people, I think our industry has so many ways to be able to contribute in that way. And, you know, back to the issue of pay, I tell my kids, you know, it's great that you want to save the world and do something, and you really should stay true to yourself on that. But, you know, you don't have to be poor to do that. And so being able to make a good living and contribute to your family is an incredibly gratifying thing to do. So I love that our industry allows people to do both of those things.
That's great.
Yeah, I just will compliment. I fully agree, Kathleen, with your words. But I think in terms of advice, I think that our sector itself, it's in a very exciting moment. It's in a very transformational moment. So we are in front, I mean, mobility itself, it's going to change significantly in the coming years, not because of the gas prices, which probably is going to contribute us to speed up on this process, but mobility itself, it's going to change. All the issues regarding ESG that are going to be not just trending topics, are going to be really issues that we are going to incorporate in our companies as a, let's say, as a key values for the company itself. So I think all these issues are gonna help these young generations or these young kids in order to feel very motivated, very attracted to be, and to be motivated to come to join to our companies, because it's true that we are having all issues in order to recruit people, and we really need to encourage these young people to be part of the sector. And I think that the moment we are, it's going to be challenging, and it's going to be really attractive for them in the coming years.
Oh, those are great answers. Thank you. That's a lot of inspiring thoughts about why our industry has an impact and what it means to be a part of that. Thank you. The next question is a good one from one of our board members. She's saying, I'm a new mother, and often people make assumptions about my bandwidth and ability to work on complicated projects. What advice do you have for mothers of young children to break the bias?
Yeah, that's such an important question. I think many of us have been through that experience. So thanks for asking that, Becca. I would just say, first of all, try to discern between people who are selling you short and people who are trying to offer true kindness, because there are many men in our world who are battling the same demands on their time, and everybody recognizes that ambitious young mothers often commit more than they need to, trying to prove themselves. And so, you know, there's a little bit of that. Check yourself. Do you need to be putting yourself out there as much as you are? But back to your original question, which is, I'm capable of more than people are allowing me to do. If that's truly the case, just let people know. Just politely and nicely, thank you for being considerate, but I'm okay here. I can do this, and in fact, I'm ready to do more. And I think if you can have that conversation and have it in a way where everybody feels appreciated, it'll be successful.
Yeah, well, Becca, first of all, congratulations if you are a new mother. So I think that's a very exciting phase in your life. And believe me, my advice would be enjoy this opportunity, because kids are growing so fast that really enjoy this new phase in your life. And let me share with you an example that happens to me. I really had a really good experiences in my career for the fact of being woman, but I have one that maybe it's helping you on that it's not really good experience. So when I was, I had my first little daughter, and then I wanted to have a second kid. You know, I just want to go quick and just focus again on my career. And, you know, at that time I was traveling a lot. I was, you know, I was leading with projects, and I had to travel a lot, and I was not really a good mother. Again, I was talking before about the conscience. I like to have a good conscience, and I had the opportunity in the company. They offered me another position, but I had some issues because of the salary. Kathleen, you were talking about that before, but because of the salary, and because I was young mother, and I wanted to be mother again. And my reaction was, you know, guys, I think you are not hiring me just because of 9 months, because I was pregnant at that time. You are not hiring to me at that time for 9 months. You are hiring to me because you believe in me, because you want me be part of your team, because all what I contribute to you. So that's why I think we need to defend that. Of course, we are mothers, and of course we want to be mothers, but we are professionals on top of that. And we need to ask for the right, let's say, recognition independently if we are mother or not. I mean, if you are a good professional, that the companies doesn't have to take the fact of being mother as a company just to make discrimination or just not treating appropriate the employees. So that's why that was happened to me. And I think that it was fine after, but really I had to have this hard conversation, which I really don't like to have this kind of conversation. Mm-hmm. But again, we need to defend our right if we feel it's like that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a great point. And, I think when I was a young mother, just kind of adding my thoughts, there were a lot of assumptions being made as well, including that, I had certain responsibilities, and I'm so glad that now, mothers and fathers or spouses share those responsibilities more evenly. I think, the more that we have paternity leave available, et cetera, people will be able to erase the bias of gender roles around family care, because every family is making their own, work-life balance decisions a unique way. So thank you both. Those were really good, insightful answers. So I have a question, and you all feel free to put more in the chat. We've got a few more minutes. The question I wanted to add was, what do you think the future looks like with more women in the lead? How will that impact the future of business and the future of our industry to have more women in leadership roles?
Go ahead, Anna.
The answer is clear, positively. I mean, I'm sure that not only in our sector, which I fully agree that in our sector we need definitely more women, because probably we are one of the sectors with more gap, but I'm sure that even everybody is realizing about the fact that diversity is good, and also about the fact that the women that we have had the chance to be in high positions already, I think let's say our bosses, and not only our bosses, our employees and the community, they have realized that has been really, let's say, a good opportunity to show what other values, what other skills we can contribute just leading and getting what, as a company, we always want, which at the end of the end, it's goals and achieve the goals that our shareholders are expecting to get. So that's why I'm very positive on that the trend is going to be positive in the coming years. In my company, I think that in a very managerial directors positions, we have been growing significantly in the last year. So I think that the trends, it's going to be really positive, and it's going to impact positively for all of us.
That's great. Thank you. Kathleen?
I totally agree. I think in my lifetime, the change that I've seen women contribute to the workplace is phenomenal and so beneficial to every single person. So let's talk about some of the changes we've made. Just by breaking up what was a very homogenous group, all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, it's taken years, but people have become remarkably more sensitive and having to accommodate the differences of other people in the workplace. That didn't exist 40 years ago. You didn't be careful with your words because you were afraid it was going to offend somebody. In fact, it was very typical for people to say whatever they felt and not really worry about who it offended. We've made huge strides in how we treat each other in the workplace, and that is because women, people of color, people of all different types have come in and changed the balance and changed the diversity and the makeup. And I truly believe it's made us all better people in how we treat each other and how we go about our work. So that's one thing. And I just truly believe that women bring something special to the workplace anyway. I think we do, Anna said this earlier, I think we bring a level of authenticity that we're uniquely able to bring. And I think that also benefits the environment. I think it creates a richness around the community at work, and it's good for everybody.
That's great. Well, I want to thank you all. I'm going to shift to giving our thank yous and wrapping up the program. Anna and Kathleen, you are making history. Thank you so much for your leadership, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us today. I also want to thank our other women leaders that you heard from today, Joy Taylor-Dean, Martha Heater, Julie Tim, Monica Backman, and Mimi Kirschman. Their words of wisdom also were very inspiring. And I do want to give a special thank you to Ioana Dabney, who prepared the videos from the original recordings to make that such a good experience today. She did a great job. And as I mentioned, both Julie and Ioana really helped me plan this program. And then I also want to make sure everyone remembers that we are planning our next program on April 29th, which is going to be live in person. We'll get to see each other in 3 dimensions. We'll have a presentation and kind of a behind the scenes tour of Richmond International Airport. So you'll be seeing more information about that event soon. So with that, we'll go ahead and end on time. And again, thank you all for attending. And Kathleen and Anna, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your wisdom today. We appreciate it. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.